Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Part 1. Introduction. Background, book information, title, Sunrise on the Reaping, author, Suzanne Collins, USA, genre, science fiction, dystopian, release, March 18, 2025, approximately 400 pages, story context. This is the second prequel to The Hunger Games, after the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, set 24 years before Katniss Everdeen's story. Main themes: media manipulation, political surveillance, social rebellion, and the art of performance as a means of survival under the Capitol's oppressive regime. Part 2. Main characters' relationships. The soul of Sunrise on the Reaping isn't just in its plot, it's in its people. The relationships in this story are tangled, painful, tender, and often fatal. Every character isn't just a player in the games. They're a mirror, a memory, or a mistake that someone may not survive. Fire Haymitch Abernathy, the boy before the bruises, before the sarcasm, before the bottle, before he became the broken mentor Katniss Everdeen would one day meet. Haymitch was just a 16-year-old boy from District 12, dirt under his nails, loyalty in his bones, a coal miner's son with calloused hands and a sharp mind. He never expected greatness. But he also never expected to be reaped in place of someone he loves. When violence erupts during the reaping, Haymitch steps forward, not to win, but to protect. In doing so, he trades his future for hers. He is not chosen by chance. He is chosen by love, and love, in Panem, is the most dangerous thing of all. Lenore Dove Baird, the songbird who couldn't fly away. Lenore is more than just Haymitch's girlfriend, she is freedom personified. A haunting, ethereal member of the Covey, a legendary tribe of artists and storytellers who travel the district singing truths the Capitol wants silenced. Her voice is soft but fearless. She teaches Haymitch how to dream, how to see beauty beyond the cold dust. But the Capitol sees her differently, as a threat. And it is her defiance, her spark, that places a target not just on herself, but on the boy who loves her. She is the reason he enters the games. She is also the reason he survives them, at a devastating cost. District 12 tributes, more than pawns. Luella McCoy, Haymitch's childhood friend, fierce, funny, and full of fire. She's the kind of girl who would die for her friends, and she does. But her death is not heroic. It is cruel, senseless, and staged. During the parade, she is murdered, and the Capitol, with chilling efficiency, replaces her with a look-alike corpse, parading alive for all of Panem to see. Luella's fate reminds us, in the Capitol's story, even death can be edited. Mesa Lee Donner, a girl of privilege and perfect posture, cold at first glance, but not without complexity. Mesa Lee is rich and seemingly detached, but behind her sharp eyes is someone calculating the risk of caring. A connection to Haymitch begins to form, one not of love, but of necessity, and reluctant respect. Wyatt Callow, brash, impulsive, and tragically unaware of the storm he's in, he bets recklessly with more than coins, he gambles with trust. And in the arena, trust can kill. B.T. Ampert, blood, wires, and war. Before he was the genius rebel we know in the original trilogy, B.T. was already paying the price of victory. Now, he is forced to mentor his own son, Ampert, a tribute in these bloody games. Imagine being told to train your child to die. Imagine having to pretend it's an honor. B.T.'s quiet pain and Ampert's reluctant obedience create one of the most heartbreaking dynamics in the novel. Their relationship is a slow-burn tragedy, layered with science, strategy, And sorrow, President Snow Plutarch Heavensby, puppeteers behind the curtain, before the rose. Before the poison. President Snow is already mastering the real art of the games, controlling the narrative. He doesn't just watch the tributes. He scripts them. He edits grief, censors resistance, and rewrites pain as patriotism. Beside him, Plutarch Heavensby lurks, not yet the rebel informant we later meet, but a shifty figure in the Capitol's machinery. He isn't evil. He's worse, ambiguous. Watching. Calculating. Waiting to choose which side will win. Why these relationships matter, what makes Sunrise on the Reaping so devastating isn't just who dies, it's who lives, and what they have to lose to keep living. These characters aren't just pieces in a brutal game, they are reminders that love is dangerous. Loyalty can be fatal, and in a world built on fear, the most revolutionary act is to care. Part 3. Main plot. This is not just Haymitch's story, it is a descent into the dark, glittering heart of Panem, where pain is polished into spectacle, and survival is bought with silence. Here begins the unraveling of a boy, and the forging of something harder, lonelier, and unforgettable. 3.1. The tragic reaping, love as a death sentence. It should have been just another day. Instead, on Haymitch's 16th birthday, the Capitol delivers a cruel gift, the second quarter quell, a twisted twist in the games that demands double the tributes, double the blood, double the despair. When a skirmish breaks out during the reaping ceremony, Haymitch makes a split-second decision. He volunteers. Not for glory, not for pride, he does it to protect Lenore, the girl he loves more than life itself. That one choice, noble, selfless, marks him for destruction. But Panem isn't done yet. Shortly after, Luella, his childhood friend, is brutally murdered in broad daylight. Her body is swiftly hidden, her death rebranded with a Capitol-made look-alike corpse, paraded before the cameras as if nothing happened. It's the first of many lies Haymitch will be forced to swallow, and the first death that truly changes him. Arrival in the Capitol. The parade, base stage built on blood, the tribute parade is supposed to be grand, dazzling, a celebration of death dressed as entertainment, but for Haymitch, it becomes something else, a funeral march. When Luella's lifeless body collapses beside him in the chariot, Haymitch refuses to let it be ignored. In an act of pure rebellion, he places her corpse on the marble steps of President Snow's palace, not as a tribute. As a warning, but rebellion, however small, cannot survive in Panem without punishment. The Capitol's response is swift, ruthless, and chilling. They replace Luella's corpse with a falsified version, smiling, docile, and very much alive on TV. The world watches a lie and applauds. This is the Capitol's power. They don't just kill the truth, they make you doubt it ever existed. Training Alliance, Brains Before Blades. In the shadowy halls of the Capitol's training center, Haymitch begins to understand, strength is not enough, muscles won't save you. Rage will get you killed. Instead, he begins to build something more dangerous, a mind that knows how to play the game from the inside out. Guided by the brilliant, quietly grieving BT and his son Ampert, Haymitch forges an alliance, not with the strongest, but with the underestimated. Tributes from the poorest districts, those with nothing to lose and everything to prove. They don't just train to kill, they train to manipulate, strategize, adapt. They learn to survive by becoming mirrors of the Capitol, then turning those mirrors into blades. 3.4 The Arena, a forest of nightmares. When the games begin, the arena is not what it seems, a lush wilderness, beautiful on the surface, but crawling with invisible killers, venomous vines, mutations that mimic loved ones' voices, and a fog that drives tributes mad with hallucinations. Here, death doesn't just come from others. It comes from within. Haymitch watches his allies fall, some slowly, some suddenly, some with final words that will haunt him forever. As the blood spills, he realizes something horrifying: winning isn't survival, winning is submission, so he changes his plan. He stops fighting to win, he starts fighting to expose the capital's cruelty. Every move becomes a message. Every alliance, a rebellion. Every refusal to kill pointlessly, an act of defiance. Haymitch isn't just playing the game, he's turning the game inside out. After the games, victory is just another kind of loss. Haymitch wins, but not in any way that matters. When he returns home, there is no welcome. His house is burned to ash, his mother and younger brother are dead, executed while he was being celebrated on screens across Panem. And then, worst of all, Lenore. She is poisoned by President Snow himself. Not swiftly, not painlessly, but cruelly, deliberately, dying in Haymitch's arms with tears in her eyes and a song in her throat. Snow whispers in his ear, like a promise soaked in venom, "Don't let another sunrise on the reaping happen again." This is how victors are made in Panem, not by triumph, but by breaking everything you are. Until only the capital's version of you remains, Haymitch survives. But the boy who stepped forward to protect love, he dies with Lenore, and what is left is the drunk, the cynic, the broken mentor who tells Katniss, "Stay alive." Not because he believes in hope, but because he knows what it costs. Part 4. Ending consequences. In Sunrise on the Reaping, there is no clean ending, no heroic anthem, no standing ovation. What Suzanne Collins gives us instead is something far more powerful, a quiet reckoning, a reminder that the deepest scars are often the ones we cannot see, that surviving isn't the same as healing, and that sometimes, the smallest acts of love are the loudest forms of resistance. Epilogue, where the song still echoes. Years have passed, Katniss Everdeen has ended the Hunger Games, toppled Snow, and redefined rebellion, but far from the monuments and the headlines, Haymitch Abernathy lives quietly, alone, not in triumph, but in reflection. And finally, in the stillness that follows so much violence, he begins to speak. For the first time, he tells the truth of what really happened, not for revenge, not for fame, but because silence, he realizes, is how the capital wins. He tells of Luella, of Ampert, of the arena, of Lenore, his light, his grief, his ghost, and in a poetic act of healing, he begins to care for birds, not just any birds, but doves, finches, and mockingjays. The same birds Lenore used to sing to in secret. The same kind of bird Lucy Gray once sang with, each feather, a memory, each song, a promise to never forget. These birds are more than symbols, they are hope given wings. Political message, truth as rebellion. What Sunrise on the Reaping does masterfully is tear away the glittering mask of the games. It shows us, with horrifying clarity, that the Hunger Games are not just about survival. They are a narrative machine, built to erase reality and replace it with spectacle. But here's the revolution: Haymitch doesn't win by killing, he wins by feeling. By refusing to numb. By refusing to forget, his refusal to become what they wanted, a soulless victor, is the quietest, and most dangerous, rebellion of all, because when the capital makes trauma into a trophy, remembering the pain is the first act of defiance. Deeper connections, the Songbirds we almost forgot. This novel doesn't just tell Haymitch's story, it rethreads the fabric of the entire Hunger Games universe. We see BT, not as the calculating rebel from District 3, but as a grieving father, forced to mentor his own child to the slaughter. We see Plutarch, years before he switches sides, already a man divided between politics and conscience. And we see Lenore Dove Baird, mysterious and musical, a possible descendant, or ancestor, of another girl with a guitar and a haunting voice, Lucy Gray Baird. Are Lenore and Lucy Gray connected, not just by blood, but by spirit, two women who sang against power, two songs the capital couldn't silence? Collins leaves it open, but intentionally so, because this isn't just about who lived or died. It's about how their stories lived on, through whispered ballads, through broken mentors, through mockingjays. Final impact, what Sunrise teaches us: when the flames die down and the bodies are buried, what's left? Not victory, not vengeance, just a boy who loved too deeply, a system that punished him for it, and a world that finally began to listen. Haymitch Abernathy is no longer just the drunk mentor in the shadows, he is a symbol of everything the capital feared most, a survivor who remembers, a heart that never stopped breaking, and a voice, however trembling, that finally found the courage to speak. Part 5. Reception impact. Some books entertain, some books challenge, and then there are books like Sunrise on the Reaping, stories that don't just sit on shelves, they carve themselves into the soul of a generation. From the moment it hit the shelves, Sunrise on the Reaping didn't just make headlines, it made history. Unstoppable sales, a story the world was hungry for. In just its first week, the book sold over 1.5 million copies worldwide. That's not just success, that's a global roar. A collective surge of readers desperate to return to Panem, not for more action or gore, but to uncover what came before the rebellion, and more importantly, what broke the man behind it. Fans didn't come for fireworks, they came to understand the ember, Haymitch, that helped ignite the flame of Katniss. Critical acclaim. When literature meets legacy, the critics didn't hold back their praise. The New York Times called it a vivid and powerful addition to the series. Collins has never written something so intimate, so politically sharp, and so quietly devastating. The Guardian raved, elegant prose, hauntingly idealistic dystopia. A return to form that doesn't rely on spectacle, but instead forces us to feel every bruise beneath the page. What struck reviewers wasn't just the narrative, it was the emotional bravery. The way Collins looked directly into the eyes of grief, guilt, and propaganda, and refused to blink. It's not a story about winning, it's a story about what the world takes from you when you do. Reader response, a book that hurts so beautifully, you thank it. Across forums, book clubs, fan videos, and podcasts, readers called it heartbreaking, classic, and meaningful. The best book in the franchise. Period. A love letter to those who survive, but never stop aching. Fans were especially moved by how the story recontextualized characters they thought they already knew. I never saw Haymitch the same way again. Now every time he takes a drink in the original trilogy, I cry. And perhaps the most recurring sentiment, this wasn't just a prequel. It was a reckoning. Cultural impact. Why this book matters now, in a world increasingly shaped by manipulated media, curated truths, and performative justice, Sunrise on the Reaping holds up a mirror and asks, what stories are we being told? And who is telling them? Collins doesn't just revisit Panem, she makes it uncomfortably relevant. She reminds us that history is written by the powerful, and sometimes the most radical thing we can do is remember the stories they tried to erase. Final words, a quiet roar that refuses to fade. Sunrise on the Reaping may not have the explosive action of its predecessors, but it doesn't need to. It wages its war in silence. In grief. In memory, and that's why it lingers, not like a spark, but like a scar that says, this happened. This mattered. We are still listening. Part 6. Conclusion. Sunrise on the Reaping paints a deeply emotional and politically charged portrait of Haymitch, his transformation from hopeful youth to traumatized victor. The story blends personal survival with resistance against tyranny, making it a powerful expansion of the Hunger Games universe. With dramatic twists, emotional depth, and a haunting look into the cost of rebellion, it's a must-read for both longtime fans and new readers alike.